You are listening to www.integralnaked.org.
I want to just remind you in the space of Tonglen, because we are talking about evil, and sometimes evil happens to us, but we're also capable of doing evil. There are many ways to look at that impulse and the way it starts, and one of the simplest in relation to Tonglen is, we said one of the reasons that doing Tonglen is so helpful is it connects us with all other sentient beings. Now, obviously, you don't have to do that 24 hours a day. I mean, you can simply at some point, just in a very real sense, get tired and let go of it, and that's fine. But there's a difference in simply letting go of it versus turning away from a human being. And what Tonglen does, at the most fundamental level, it helps us transcend two things. One is the subject-object, the self-other duality. It's called exchange self for other. And that it fundamentally helps us rest in the non-seeking mind, that mind that is ever present right now, even as everything is arising in it. And so exchanging self for other is a fundamental promise not to turn away from another sentient being. And that's what's so really powerful about Tonglen. And the impulse to evil, I can't think of a single impulse to evil that doesn't start with a refusal to touch another human being. In other words, it's an active refusal to touch that human being. It's a refusal to do Tonglen. Now, think about, in terms of, we were talking about developmental stages, for example, egocentric, ethnocentric, world-centric. There are actually scales with upwards of 8, 9, 10, 12 of those levels. We have a hard time getting spiritual teachers to understand this because everybody in this room is usually world-centric or higher, with the possible exception of you. No, they're world-centric or higher. And so it never enters a spiritual teacher's mind that people can do Tonglen. But let me give you a thought experiment, an extreme one. You're a Nazi. Breathe in and relate to the suffering of a Jew. You're not going to do it. Okay? Egocentric, ethnocentric, world-centric. At ethnocentric, you cannot do Tonglen with all sentient beings. There are some sentient beings you don't care if they die right on the spot. You hope they die suffering. So what Tonglen does is a powerful way to help grow. But it's also a reminder that these developmental stages are real. And the same goes for love. I mean, people forget that Carol Gilligan, in a different voice, she did point out that women don't think hierarchically, but they grow hierarchically. Women's non-hierarchical thinking goes through 3 hierarchical stages of growth. She called them selfish, care, and universal care. Do the same with love. Selfish love, just for me. Care, for her, meant ethnocentric. I care just for my family. Or universal love. I can love all people or all sentient beings. So love alone is not enough. It has to be love that grows into these world-centric capacities and perspectives. Nazis love their families dearly. So that's what's so extraordinary. Same with charity. Charity, love, Tonglen help us grow through these actual stages. And the evil impulse in any of it is the same as non-loving impulse or the non-charity impulse. And that's, at some point, I won't touch you. You are an untouchable. And only untouchables can be killed. And the history of evil is a history of killing untouchable. And Tonglen is fundamentally a practice of touching all of those, not turning away, fundamentally not turning away from them. That's very, very, in that sense, you can
huge,
hold that
huge.
to the extent that you can. And then on a relative plane, that's fine. Some things are wrong on a relative plane. With love in your heart, if you meet Hitler, blow his fucking brains out. Smiling. But you see the difference. It's fundamental not turning away from a human being. It's very, very important.